Welcome everyone to the third edition of the HotSporting podcast. Today we have a special guest. I've got my man here, Ashley Calvert. Ashley, welcome to HotSporting.
Thank you very much for having me. I really do appreciate the time.
Yes, thank you very much, Ashley. Well, let's go back, Ashley. Just take me through, how did you get involved in sport? Probably played another sporting code. How did you get involved in sport?
Yeah, so sports in general, started as a young kid playing soccer. Did a bit of athletics, 100-meter sprints, moved on to rugby, and then at a much later stage, I'd say about 2021, then I started doing mixed martial art training, more in the combat sort of field of sports.
So you fell in love with the physical aspect of contact sport?
Yeah, so basically, just in a nutshell, so I was probably like a 94-kilo guy, pushing weights, thinking that was what strength was about. Went for my first MMA session, and these little guys absolutely manhandled me. And then I realized muscle is just for the flash, the show, and there's more to things, So it intrigued me, and never looked back. Just got straight into it and worked super hard and became a professional fighter, and now EFC Matchmaker.
Oh wow! So just let's go back a little bit when you were joining now the professional ranks. When was that, and how did it come about? How did you come to the conclusion that now you wanted to turn pro? So just take me through that when you joined the pro ranks.
Okay, so it was at a training session. Nothing was planned as such. Graham Cottonwell came, the VIP of talents at EFC. He just rocked up to actually look at another fighter, and I was helping Calvin with sparring and that. And then Graham is saying, look, he needs a specific fight at a particular weight category. I think it was either lightweight or featherweight, I can't really remember. And suddenly I just said, I'll do it. And he looked at me like I was crazy and went for a pro grading, got my license, and before you know it, I was a professional EFC fighter.
And then you also swiftly moved now into matchmaking. What is it that gives you a thrill about what you are doing in terms of matchmaking, and what would be a perfect fight be? Like, I know also with sports like boxing, you don't just take anyone, you have to look at other aspects. If this fight will work and will be entertaining. So just take me through those processes.
Yeah, so it's definitely not just taking two names on a piece of paper and putting it together. There's a lot that definitely goes into it. It's a lot of analyzing and observation, and getting to actually know the athletes as well. So you want to kind of get two guys that can have the best chemistry that you feel. You've got to analyze their movements, their mental status under pressure, the big lights, when things go right, when things don't go right. You want to see techniques on the stand-up, on the ground. There's so many of these aspects that come into play, and it's about just, with the experience, be able to just connect all these dots to create an amazing fight. So there's a lot more that goes into matchmaking for sure.
Yeah. And then when it comes to the extreme fighting, we've seen a lot of evolution happening. We've seen a lot of changing now. People that were not aware are becoming aware of the sport, and it's gaining a lot of traction. Just your take on the evolution of the sport and where it is now from where maybe we probably started.
Just to give an example, my first amateur MMA bout was in a boxing gym. It looked like a boxing gym on Louis Burt's Avenue. Boxing ring wasn't a platform, it was on the ground with some garden chairs. Guys get together, we stand on a scale, and then off we go and do our thing, And now we just launched a contender series at EFC. So now we've created the same platform for the professionals, but also for the top amateurs that are kind of transitioning over to pro. And they got on a world stage, you know what I mean? So it's compared to where I started to where it is there. I mean, the sport in itself, MMA, is the fastest growing sport. There's no question about it. It just was a matter of time when it became more known to the public. I think in this country specifically, something like soccer, rugby was always at the top. But when Drickus managed to get the UFC middleweight belt, things started changing a lot more, and opening a lot more doors and creating more awareness. So the sport is really at a fast pace right now, especially in Africa at the moment.
Yeah, because we've seen a lot of also African guys coming to South Africa and using the available resources here to launch their careers overseas. So that is also evident. You can testify to that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of guys that are coming from other African countries that move to SA. At the moment in SA, there's a lot of really quality gyms and quality trainers. However, I am seeing a lot of good talent that is being produced in their own home countries. So it's already showing that their side is even growing now, where they don't actually have to come to SA to reach a high level. They can stay in their own country and actually build. I mean, there's some really, really good talent that we've been able to pull across the border and into the EFC.
And then what makes a perfect fight? I want to go back to what you do in terms of matchmaking. What makes a perfect fight for you? And do you have maybe any highlight where you say that this was the best fight I've ever matchmade and make it happen?
I think it's a difficult question to answer. However, it comes down to the two fighters on that moment. I get sort of, or me and the team, Graham and them, can get two guys that we think is going to produce the most amazing fights, and it doesn't happen. It's a stalemate. Then you get the least expected guys that step in there with just that right mentality, like they're just like, you know what, this is my time now, and whatever their fears or doubts is out the door, and they just go for it. They believe in themselves and they make it happen, and that's when magic starts to produce. So it's a difficult one to pinpoint to say, this is going to be a perfect fight. You can kind of say it, but it doesn't mean it's absolute truth. So that's one thing I don't do, is I never predict fights, because it's so surprising, especially in MMA. Anything can happen, and guys are evolving quite dramatically. So they're becoming so good just like that. So it's exciting. It's an exciting sport.
Any major fights that you have been working on? I know that EFC is continuing. You also spoke about the series that you've launched. Any fights that you're currently working on, and what maybe people can expect in the near future?
For the next card next month, we have, if I may, SA versus Brazil.
Okay.
So 3 title fights. We will have SA athletes, our champions, JC Lambrecht. We have Willie van Rooyen, who's not the champion, but he's going for the vacant belt.
Okay.
And then we have Amanda Lino. She's an absolute legend. She's coming back.
Okay.
And we're bringing them to face Brazilians. And then they're bringing the 4th one. So we'll kind of see how we're going to play the 4th Brazilian, see who's in it at flyweight. So maybe we'll create a number 1 contender spot for something like that. So it's quite nice to have something where another country's facing another country.
So it will be the next edition of the, I think, 123?
Yes, 123.
So it will be the SA versus Brazil.
That's correct.
Okay, now, wonderful. And then you also mentioned the female fighters, you know. How is it going on that front? Because we've been preaching now the equality, you know, in sport as well. So how is it when it comes to female fighters? What is your take in terms of the fighters that we have and the quality?
Yeah, look, the ladies, they're really trying their best, and also the promoters are trying their best. For some reason in Africa, it's like, it's kind of not looked in the right manner to see 2 ladies fighting for some reason. So the ones that have actually stuck it out and just going through all the negative comments, they're really doing something good, and it's needed. I feel personally, the female fighters, they have dog fights. They probably have one of the most exciting fights. They just get stuck in. Where a guy has some logic, he doesn't fight with that much emotion, where they just get absolutely stuck in. So it's nice to have females. It is hard to find matchups, so a lot of them also reach out overseas. So they try to stay as active as possible. But with Amanda Lina coming through as well, I'm hoping that it'll inspire other female athletes to actually push and pursue something of her level. That's basically what we want to do. We really want to bring up the female divisions back up and a high level competing with the men. I think it's important. It's not a sport just for men.
Yeah, and I think on that note, that will also help in terms of growing the sport, because there are some ingredients that are needed to make sure that the extreme fighting, you know, or MMA is growing, you know. So I think maybe trying to find female fighters, and involving them would also help the sport grow.
Yeah, it brings unity, doesn't it? So it's something really important to not make it just a male-dominant sport, but also a combination, male and female. As I said, it's that unity, and it will bring more fans and different sponsorships, and there's many aspects. Other international fighters coming over here and fighting local African talent. So it is it's just as important as the males to get the females going and really building those divisions.
Yeah, and then as we coming to the conclusion of this conversation, what would you say, additionally to what we've spoken about involving females, what do you think is the missing ingredient in the MMA scene in the country and in the continent? What do you think are those major things that we should work on as a country in terms of trying to improve and grow the sport?
I think in a sense, the sport itself fights in that. There's one element I think if they get right is giving back to the community. I think if they start giving back to the community will start realizing, hold on, it's not just a dogfight. It's not guys that don't really know what they're talking about. They're violent people. I think there's a bad stigma from the past. And MMA athletes, male, female, is super intelligent. Like, they're really, really intelligent people. They really do have good hearts, and they come from tough backgrounds as well. So a lot of them humble. You always have that one or two that are not humble heart, but it's in everything in life. But I think if they give back to the community, it'll change the perspective that's out there. And I think the community then will really come in more masses and support the sports. I think it would be more in that regard, giving back out there.
Yeah. And then in terms of the taking the sport to the people, also maybe some more television coming in, being involved, as you know that many people would also access the fights now through viewing it, on different platforms. Don't you think also that will also help the sport in terms of spreading the message?
Absolutely. The more broadcasting agencies out there, the better, isn't it? You want to create as much awareness as possible, and I think you got to think out the box and reach past the stars as well. So to have just super sports and that, I think there's more out there as well. So if we can get more broadcasters, as you say, it just brings more awareness, and it brings more people watching the sport and supporting it, and it creates a good positive vibe when a fight card starts coming up. There's a lot of talk and interaction that happens. Like, it's a good thing. So yeah, absolutely, the more broadcasters, the better.
Ash, we don't have much time, and you've probably been with us for some time, so I won't keep you long, but I'm hoping that we will have this conversation going forward, and especially the role that you play in terms of matchmaking, because you are the one who spots the talent. So yeah, thank you very much for coming through, man, and we're looking forward N123, where SA will be up against Brazil. So your message to young fighters across the continent, somewhere in the township, there are people who look up and who want to be stars. What kind of a boy would you look to matchmake and put in a fight? What would be your message to the young ones out there?
Like, I think if it comes to the youth and that, is the sport will always produce challenges. Do not be afraid of the challenges. That's the only way that you can grace to face it. Never give up as well. If things are not going the way you expect it, it's fine, it's okay. Just get back up and keep moving and keep working hard. Know there's a lot of sacrifice that's needed to reach a high level, but it's a good community to be a part of. It's not about violence, it's about integrity, it's about being humble, being aware of yourself, aware of others, not just giving to yourself but giving to others. Like, there's many aspects to martial arts. It's not just of a violent nature, and it creates opportunity. I mean, we have Drekis now, world champion UFC middleweight fighter. His life's changed, I can guarantee you that, and if he could make it, those guys can make it, So dream big, reach past the stars, do not give up through the challenges, and then also associate with good people around you. Doesn't mean you need the masses to support you. A small little group of people, of support structure, is all you need, that believe in you to make it as high as possible. So yeah, that's pretty much what I can say off the bat.
Yeah. No, thank you very much, Ash, for coming through. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Ashley Calvert is our champion for this edition. Thank you very much for joining us. Keep tuning in. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Cut.